Hello, students. Good morning, all of you. Today, I, Rabindra Mohan Mishra from Sri Jagdamba Sanskrit College, Batho, am taking the class of Shastri first. We have seen many topics from the play The Silver Box. Today, we see the justification of the title of Silver Box. We have seen the character sketches and Goldsworthy as a dramatist. Justification of title is also very important. That is why today we see the justification of the title of Silver Box. The Silver Box is a three-act comedy. It is the play by the English writer John Goldsworthy. It was produced in London in 1906 and attracted much attention. In the play, the disappearance of cigarette box or silver box leads to a comparison of the behavior of the son of a prosperous politician with that of an unemployed man. The exposure of attitudes of different social classes. Goldsworthy said that his aim was to create such an illusion of actual life passing on the stage as to compel the spectator to pass through an experience of his own, to think and talk and move with the people he sees, thinking and talking and moving in front of him. Although the silver box did not draw large audiences, but it was much discussed play. Goldsworthy's original title for the silver box was The Cigarette Box. Both essentially mean the same thing, an expensive cigarette box. It is the central thing in the plot. The entire story revolves around it. Jones is out of work. The poor man is tempted one night to take it away from wealthy Jack's house. Mr. Warthwick's first points his accusing finger at this charwoman, Mrs. Jones. She discovers it by chance at her house. She insists on returning it to its owner. Jones wants to throw it into the river. He is not in good position to keep it with him. At this crucial moment, Detective Snow enters the room. The recovers recovers the stolen box. He draws Mrs. Jones on charge of theft to the police station. Jones attacks the policeman on duty. He too is arrested. Both are produced in the court. The dishonest magistrate, the constable, the others are very crucial to achieve the silver box and of assaulting a public servant on duty. Thus, we see the cigarette box dominates the events from cover to cover. All conflicts and suffering arises from it. The word silver gives to the title that color of a class struggle between the rich and the poor. Silver is the symbol of riches, hence the title. The silver box is more appropriate and effective than the cigarette box. The silver box present in fact the ongoing class war in the whole world. The society is broadly divided into the upper class and the lower class, the rich and the poor, the rulers and the ruled. John Warwick represents the upper middle class. He is liberal member of parliament. He has lofty principles about social reforms. He wants all parties to have their representatives in the parliament. He professes sympathy for the poor. He seems to be deeply moved during the case hearing of Levens. He decided to raise the issue of the downtrodden in the House. In the play The Vanishing of Cigarette Box or the Silver Box prompts an examination of the conduct of the child of a prosperous government official with that of a jobless man and the presentation of dispositions of various social classes. But Warwick's sympathy for the poor is only a skin deep. He thinks that the poor are coming the folly of distrusting the rich and they themselves are largely responsible for their misery. If they would only trust us, they get on much better. He does not realize that the poor are victims of social apathy and ruthless laws. Warwick is a bogus liberal. His hypocrisy and selfishness are clearly exposed. He is mortally afraid of a public scandal. He helps his Jack out of trouble twice in order to save his own good name from damage. He seeks the help of Snow and Roper to drop the charge of theft against Jones. Better to have lost a dozen cigarette boxes and said nothing about it. He decided to make inquiries about the stolen box because it is a question of his principle. But he makes Jacks tell a lie in the court. At the end, when Mrs. Jones turns to him with an appeal, he turns his back upon her and goes away like a coward. The author's estimate of Warwick is very fair. The sentimental and melodramatic pointing of a moral frequently undercuts the attempts to depict faithfully the problems of individual characters or social groups. Such a theory of drama attempts two mutually contradictory tasks. Firstly, it is the objective, balanced, and impartial depiction of reality, and secondly, it is embodiment of the playwright's subjective, ethical, emotional response in the posing or shaping of a moral aspire of meaning. In this way, Goldsworthy's play Silver Box is secular morality play. His gentlemanly didacticism issues in dramatic sermons that attempts to evoke sympathy and understanding for the human condition and that teach the humanistic grace of civility, compromise, and fair play. The theme is taken up by Goldsworthy in his play Justice, which shows a man released from prison not getting a job and finally committing suicide. Throughout Goldsworthy's dramatic work, there is a tension between oppressive moralism and melodramatic theatricality. An example of realistic drama, his plays have merit as the work of a sincere and careful craft person who wrote in a tradition made great by the true artists who made it their own. Goldsworthy's, Goldsworthian realism and socialistic realism tend to suffer from the same pathetic complaint, deplorable and even tawdry sentimentalism. In the play Silver Box, however, Goldsworthy successfully combined a realistic representation with dramatic presentation of theme. This play remains historically interesting because the play embodies the perceptions of English social and ethical attitudes in the early 20th century. This is the very good and justifiable play by Goldsworthy. Hence, the title of the play, The Silver Box, is very appropriate and right according to the situation of the drama. Thanks. Good night. Have a nice day.